Hey guys, CoolCheese here, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. In today's Destiny 2 video, I'm going to be talking about Titans and PvP, and how they've kind of evolved since last season, but also how they have a lot of the same problems as they did back in Season of Arrivals. First of all, a couple disclaimers and kind of background knowledge. I've been a Titan main since D1 Year 1, I've played in tournaments, trials, etc. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Titans specifically. And also, B, I'm strictly talking about in a 3v3 environment, since I think that's kind of what Bungie deems as the competitive mode, as they have survival in 3v3 and Trials of Osiris in 3v3. I think 6 is more casual and is kind of irrelevant to this conversation, as well as, I guess, Rumble, for example. But anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Titans. If you know anything about Titans, and you played last season at all, you know that Striker Titan, specifically Bottom Tree, is very popular. Mainly because you could get a lot of multi-kills, and for what it's worth, if you got one kill, it was very good at getting those follow-up kills. It's a very momentum-based class, and if you could make sure to master that kind of bouldering, you could just roll people. That being said, it really only worked against people who are worse than you. As good as Striker Titan was, the higher and higher you went up the skill bracket, the worse and worse it got. Whereas a lot of casual players and lower skill players may have seen Bottom Tree Striker as broken as one of the best classes in the game, at the highest level of play, it was pretty just bad. Didn't really have any mix-up options, it had no movement abilities, and in Destiny 2, where melees whiff a lot, having your entire build being built around a melee isn't a very good thing. You may argue that there's Sentinel back then, but realistically, since Dune Marchers were the best exotic, you want to pair the best exotic with the subclass that fits it the most, and that was definitely Bottom Tree Striker. And when you compare this to other meta picks at the time, mainly talking about Arkstaff, Stormcaller, Top Tree Dawn, Spectral Blades, all of those classes had very solid movement to top tier movement, and didn't have a very shoehorned version of their abilities. Mainly what I'm trying to say is that their abilities were very diverse. For example, a Top Tree Dawnblade, a Spectral Blades, a Arkstaff, or a Stormcaller could go into any situation going against any composition of teams, and they could get out of there reliably. They're very versatile classes. No matter what you're playing against, you're pretty safe that those are going to be a good pick no matter what. However, Titan just kind of wasn't like that. Last season, if you got hit by a Celestial Fire, a Solar Grenade, or a Smoke, you kind of just died. You didn't have a movement ability to get you out of those situations, and whereas if you had a dodge, if you had a stompy jump, if you had an Icarus dash, you might have been able to live, buy yourself some more time at least, try to get your teammates over there. The Titan kind of just died there, and in a very unfortunate place, and boom, you normally lost a round of trials, or you lost a team fight in tournaments to that. It was very frustrating to play as a Titan player, because it really felt as if you either had to play perfectly, or you just lost the game. That being said, in Beyond Light, they introduced the new stasis classes, which brought other classes in line with that Titan philosophy, in the sense that if you make a mistake on a Hunter or even a Top Tree Dawnblade, those stasis abilities will make you get punished. So Titans got a lot more valuable in that respect, because now everyone has to play the Titan game, but in addition, they gave Titan not necessarily a crowd control class like the other two stasis supers, they gave it a movement class. Behemoth is the best thing to happen to Titan ever since maybe even Twilight Garrison or just Titan skating in general. It is one of the most fun classes to play, and I'm glad they have introduced it. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have flaws. Behemoth is fantastic, I love it, it's my favorite class to play. However, it is very shoehorned like the Striker of last season. It's built into doing a very specific thing, which in this case is shattering, and as much as I love the movement, that's kind of all it's got. At the highest level of play, you're not really taking advantage of those shatters, and the extreme end lag in the super makes it not nearly as valuable as you'd think at the higher levels of play. For some context, the other weekend I played in a charity tournament hosted by Hathematics and Ascendant Nomad, where we placed second place. I was playing One-Eyed Mask, Behemoth the entire tournament with Thorn and Fellwinters, and then a little bit of Sturm here and there. And throughout that entire experience, I don't really know why I was on Behemoth. Felt like I could do everything better on a Top Tree Dawnblade while just having more tools. Could do everything better on a Spectral Blades, everything better on a Revenant. And every single time that I died in a situation where maybe my grenade wasn't good enough, or I needed, like, let's say, a lightning grenade or a solar grenade. In those situations, I almost thought, why am I on this class if it still doesn't completely address the issues that Striker had? Whereas Striker has extreme strength in those very niche situations. I think that's the problem. Well, yes, I think it's important to have Striker be an option, and Sentinel to be an option, and Hammers to be an option. I think it's a shame that Titan's best class in this current sandbox isn't an answer to all compositions, whereas there's multiple options in all other classes that have that. For example, on Warlock, Top Tree Dawnblade, Shadebinder, Chaos Reach, and Top Tree Stormcaller are all fantastic options for PvP that work regardless of team composition. Same thing on Hunters, you have Spectral Blades, Arc Staff, Bottom Tree Golden Gun, and the new Stasis Revenant, which is the second best class in the game. You have all these fantastic options that just work, no matter what the enemy is using, no matter what your team is using. You can be a self-sufficient player. However, on my Behemoth, I still don't feel that. And it feels very similar to Striker last season. As much as I love the movement, as much as I love playing this class, I still feel like Bungie has a very strict identity of what they think Titans should be. And I think that's a problem. If you want PvP to truly be balanced, you gotta give pros and cons to each class. And while yes, there are some cons to playing, let's say, Hunter, or even some classes on Warlock, the main cons to that is that it's not Revenant or Top Tree Dawnblade. Those classes are just so dominant right now that anything that's not that feels like trash. Especially if you take things like Baccharis, you take things like Ophidian aspects, like these insane exotics that both those classes have access to. It's kind of hard to justify being a Titan main. For the record, I'm not saying I'm going to stop playing Titan. I have too much fun on this class, which is ultimately the reason why I play it. I couldn't give a shit if it was not effective. As long as I'm having a good time, that's all that matters. But it still kind of sucks to see Titans, while yes, they're getting a big step in the right direction, the main issues to not be addressed. There's still a very one-dimensional class. There's still only one subclass on Titan that's relevant. And in general, people still love to hate on a class that isn't even one of the strongest classes in the game. I get people in my Twitch chat all the time saying, don't you think Behemoth is broken? Wow, that's just silly. And it's the same people using Top Tree Dawnblade using Revenant. That's okay. You can use whatever is strong, but you gotta understand that it's strong and why it's so much stronger than everything else. Anyways, Bungie, if you're watching this, I think the best way to make Titans better in PvP without making them absolutely busted, and the easiest solution to all of this, is giving them Twilight Garrison. It makes it so non-Titan players don't have to complain about things like One-Eyed Mask and Dune Marchers, which a lot of people think are cheesy and annoying, and it gives Titans a lot more viability within a higher skill bracket. Yes, Titans are very good at the casual skill bracket right now, but realistically, is that where we should be balancing our game around? Should we be balancing our game based on going against 0.5 KDs in 6v6? Or should we be balancing our games going 3 KDs versus 3 KDs in trials? 3 KDs versus 3 KDs in tournaments at the highest level of play? How the best players in the world can use them? Who knows? And I think that is ultimately for Bungie to decide. However, I just love for Titan to get a little bit more neutral love. So I don't necessarily have to use Behemoth in order to play well as in these classes to make them a little bit less one-dimensional, giving them a little bit more depth. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. There is only one Titan that can beat Searu in Trials, and that's this fucking guy! Dune Marchers! M-Dash Cut! Oh! Some people ask what it's like to be the best. Some people ask what it's like to have such a good Dune Marcher shot.
And I tell them to drink Advanced.gg's Focus using code CoolCheese for 10% off their next order. Focus is the best energy drink on the market for both studying and gaming, and it is what I personally use to get through hours upon hours of trials. Order Focus today using code CoolCheese to support the channel and get yourself a great energy drink.